The MICHAEL-KATHERINE Apocryphon, Episode 3. This is the third episode in an audiobook and ongoing YouTube series by Vernadeau. Michael attended sessions with a psychoanalyst in Dallas and was diagnosed as manic depressive. During the summer of 1980, Michael and Catherine initially moved to Powderly, Texas, north of Paris, where Michael later remarked, "There are some strange minds out there." Then they moved to a small cottage in a wooded area about 20 miles from Paris, an area called Novice. This was the community where Catherine's mother lived at that time. There was considerable land acreage, and Michael and Catherine began raising goats for milk. In a type of pre-catastrophe psychology, they started storing up canned goods for the future. In July 1980, Michael began visiting a young man at a bookstore, my bookstore. That was me he was visiting, and they began discussing philosophy, social issues, metaphysics, and mysticism. Michael suggested that a discussion group be started for people with similar interests. The discussion group was started on September 9th, 1980, a Tuesday, and was held on Tuesday nights from 7 until 9 o'clock. It was originally comprised of about 14 to 16 individuals. Attendance would vary from just a handful all the way up to 16. Michael was the unofficial founder and leader. Gradually, over a period of 3 to 4 weeks, Michael and certain members developed conflicts, primarily Father Jensen, sometimes even outright dislike and arguments. Michael overtly asserted that he could walk on water and levitate a glass across the room. He claimed he could travel through other dimensions, that some of his closest associates had done so, and that he was in contact with an entity or being outside of this reality. More on that in a few moments. Michael said that he was the reincarnation of a great scientist who had lived in the Orion star system 20,000 years ago. Catherine was his long-lost love, and they had been seeking each other for thousands of years. The destructive war between the two major Orion planets was due to a conflict of belief systems of the two worlds. One planet was mystically and spiritually advanced, while the other planet was technologically advanced and greedy. Lust and greed were at the root of the destructive war, and the technologically advanced planet won out because it possessed superior weaponry. It left the mystical planet utterly devastated. Michael and Catherine had escaped in a long silver ship and cited examples of other persons who had memories of such events. Several dissenting views existed in the discussion group. A liberal Catholic priest, Father Jensen, cried out for a format and told Michael that he was nuts, insane, and needed a psychiatrist. One woman who attended described Michael as a pseudo-intellectual who is a master at group psychology. Of the group itself, she went on to say, "You can't sell me Ripple when I've tasted champagne." There are discussion groups and there are discussion groups. Michael would like for us to believe that he has powers and that he can do the things he claims he can. A man named Bob Guffey, sided with Michael and turned on Father Jensen. Bob and Michael accused Father Jensen of trying to recruit for his church and take over and dominate the group. Catherine attended the group less frequently than Michael, and she tended to be much quieter and listened mostly to what others said. She brought her Astro-dice one evening and used them, and she stood before the group under a bright lamp when Father Jensen and Bob were conducting an aura reading class to teach the group. Michael later maintained, probably correctly, that the aura class was a good example of group psychology because he maintained that in reality no one in the room had actually seen an aura. They just all said that they had after Bob and Father Jensen egged them on. Michael said that they were afraid to show their ignorance by admitting that they had not seen the aura. Catherine, at a point in time, gave me some very good advice. Catherine told me, "Get into things you like to get into." Catherine encouraged me to explore areas and activities that interested me, from which I would grow spiritually. Catherine once told me, "Wash away the negative and replace it with positive." She instructed me to do away with bad thoughts or influences and to replace them with positive ones. Do things that you need to do. You don't need all that constant social life to help you grow. Catherine felt that I needed more private and alone time to myself to utilize my abilities and develop spiritually. Put a white light shield of protection around yourself and your belongings. Catherine emphasized securing oneself and belongings. Find your soulmate, send out vibrations for your soulmate. Catherine was a strong believer in finding one's soulmate. Michael gave me advice from time to time and had a lot of anecdotes and sayings. In March 1981, he told Catherine, "Jeffrey has a 1970 Cadillac. I remember that model. That was a good year. I would like to see it." At one point, during a jealous, possessive moment, Michael told me, "You would like nothing better than to have Catherine in a daily part or feature of your life. You and Bob both." Michael said he used to get caught up in Visa and MasterCard credit cards, the latest model car every year. At one point, Michael, one of the groups, talked about Christianity spreading throughout the European countries, which were barbaric at that time, and that the Roman legions were largely composed of barbarians. He mentioned a woman in the group, Eugenia, would just love to fix me up with some nice young lady. She would be delighted to play matchmaker. This is when he and Catherine were having some difficulties. Father Jensen had better not tamper with Vicky. That's a remark that Michael made in March of 1981 regarding a young woman that Michael had been working with, whom Father Jensen had also begun to talk to and discuss things with. When Catherine and I lived in Dallas and we went looking for an apartment in different apartment buildings, we could feel the vibrations left by the people who had lived in them before. There were bad vibes in some apartments. You could feel very strong, intense evil, total evil. Catherine and I finally found a new apartment where nobody else had lived before. It was neutral ground. We were able to take and make it truly ours. Catherine used Astro-dice, zodiacal dice, which when rolled would show certain symbols, which he then looked up in an accompanying book for their meanings. She also taught me a method of future divination using regular playing cards. We listened to a cassette she had of Paul Etheridge, the dental healer, at a seminar in Dallas. The song "Love is Flowing" was sung by a group. Michael had a metallic star and several incense dishes and small metal balls which he would arrange on the floor in a very specific way in order to cast a spell or manipulate reality or influence world events. One evening he performed a ritual to help free the hostages in Iran. That was during the Iran hostage crisis of 1980. And I believe this will conclude episode 3 of the MICHAEL-KATHERINE Apocryphon. This has been Rich Vernadeau. Thank you.